Evening, Chairman sir and Principal sir.
Good evening. I request Mrs. D. Pawan Kumari, you please start the session.
Okay, sir. Good evening to everyone. I am Mrs. Pavanakumari Dasari, working as Assistant Professor of Environmental Science in the Department of Humanities and Science. Now, we would like to play a video promo on Balaji Institute of Technology and Science, Narsampet, Warangal. Over to Narayana sir.
Balaji Institute of Technology and Science, Wi-Fi enabled lush green campus spread over 80 acres, highly committed doctoral faculty with research laboratories, first and only best engineering college securing highest placements in Telangana, 100% placement assistance with 250 plus students placed in 2017-18, tie-ups with 100 plus companies to achieve 100% placements, conducting guest lectures with IIT and NIT professors. For placement details, visit www.bitswgl.ac.in. Spacious and well-stocked library with national and international journal. Conducive academic environment with traditional approach. R&D lab for new innovation in engineering. Separate boys and girls schools within campus. Choose BITS for assured placements. Balaji Institute of Technology and Science, Lakanapalli, Narsampet Road, Warangal.
Yes, Pawan Kumar ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Now, I wholeheartedly welcome Honorable Chairman of Balaji Group of Institutions, Dr. A. Rajendra Prasad Reddy Garu, Secretary, Dr. G. Rajeshwar Reddy Garu, Principal of Balaji Institute of Technology and Science, Dr. V.S. Hariharan Garu, Head of the Department of Humanities and Sciences, the convener of today's program, Dr. V. Narayana Garu, advisor of our department, Dr. V. Sudhakar Rao Garu, and today's chief guest and resource person, Professor Karnam Pushpanathan Garu, and all the participants from all over India. I once again welcome you all to two-day national level webinar on National Educational Policy 2020 inaugural session. Now, I request Srimati A. Karnasri Madam to speak about our group of institutions, Balaji Institute of Technology and Science, and H&S Department. Over to Karnasri Madam.
Thank you, Madam. Good evening, everyone. I feel pleasure to speak about our Balaji group of institutions. We have various colleges such as Balaji Institute of Technology and Science, Balaji Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Balaji Institute of Management Sciences, Balaji Institute of Nursing, Balaji College of Education, where we had B.Ed and D.Ed courses, Balaji Degree Colleges, Balaji Junior College, Balaji Occasional College, Balaji Techno Schools, where in our group of institutions we offer KG to PG courses. Group of institutions are spearheaded by our chairman, Dr. A. Rajendra Prasad Reddy sir, and Secretary Dr. G. Rajeshwar Reddy sir. The main purpose of establishing a group of institutions is to provide education to rural people in and surrounding areas of Narsampet. Educating and thereby placing the students in employment is prime motto of our Balaji. We had well-qualified faculty, magnanimous buildings, infrastructure, well-equipped labs, and all basic amenities, sports grounds, gym, and hostel facility. And to speak in a nutshell about our BITS, Balaji Institute of Technology and Science, Narsampet, Warangal, it is popularly known as BITS, and the inception of this college is in the year 2001. It's a 30-minute drive from Warangal. We got affiliated with NAC and NBA. We offer campus recruitment training to the students. We conduct on-campus, off-campus, and campus pool drives. We strive towards the students' welfare, academic growth, their placement, and overall personality. In BTech program, we offer civil, EEE, mechanical, ECE, CSE, artificial intelligence, computer science and business system, and computer science and information technology. We offer MTech programs also. And to speak about our department, that is Humanities and Sciences, it was established in the year 2001, that is during the inception. The department has experienced and dedicated faculty having specialization in diversified areas of sciences and humanities. To traction among the students and for their overall development, we conduct, our department conduct many social events, co-curricular, extracurricular activities through various clubs and cells to empower students in all fields and department. And our department also conduct faculty development programs, workshops, guest lectures under the guidance of our head of the department. Thank you. Thank you, madam. Over to you, Pavana madam.
Thank you, madam, for giving a brief introduction about Balaji Group of Institutions, Balaji Institute of Technology and Science, and HNS department. As a tradition of practice, now we are going to start this program by invocation song. Over to Narayan sir. Narayan sir. Sir.
Karnasri madam, please call him.
Narayana sir?
No, probably the power or some
Yes,
network
yes.
problem might be there.
Might be there.
So
That's-
the
Okay.
next program. Anyway,
Pavana madam?
Yeah, ma'am.
maybe he's out of reach or some network problem might be there.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, please
Pavana madam,
continue.
go ahead
otherwise.
with the next.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Now, sorry for the interruption. Because of technical problem, we are unable to play the invocation song. Now I request today's program convener and head of the department, Humanities and Science, Dr. V. Narayana sir, to speak few words in this inaugural session.
Is it okay, ma'am?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, sir.
Okay. Actually, okay, fine. Respected Chairman, Dr. A. Rajendra Prasad Reddy Garu, and Secretary, Dr. G. Rajesh Reddy Garu, respected Principal, Dr. V.S. Hariran Garu, and all my dear staff, and today's resource person, Professor Karanam Pushpanadam Garu, and coordinator of today National Webinar on National Educational Policy 2020, Mrs. Pawan Kumari ma'am. Good evening to one and all. Really, I'm very happy. This is the 4th national level online webinar which we are organizing on behalf of our college, especially from Department of Humanities and Sciences. This is done with the continuous support and continuous guidance from the management. In this aspect, I am very happy that whatever the resources given by the management only, which we are conducting these type of national level programs, which are very much useful for the teaching fraternity in India. And coming to today's program, actually we have planned this webinar 1 week before, but and today also we got letters from JNTU that this September month, even the JNTU Hyderabad is also planning to start so many webinars. on national educational policy. In that aspect also, I am very thankful to today's coordinator, Mrs. Pawan Kumari ma'am, for bringing this program into the picture. I am very happy that Karanam Pushpanadam Garu, Professor of Educational Administration, University of Baroda, in spite of his busy schedule, when Mrs. Pawan Kumari ma'am approached, immediately he accepted our request. I am very thankful to you, sir. Whatever the content which you are going to deliver, which is really, this is very important. This is the time as a teacher, as a faculty of engineering department, it is very much useful, sir. Thank you, sir, for accepting our request on behalf of our department and college. My sincere thanks to you, sir, for accepting this request. I request all the participants, please make use of this program effectively. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Over to coordinator, Mrs. Pawan Kumari.
Thank you, sir. Now, I request our principal, Balaji Institute of Technology and Science, Dr. V.S. Hariharan Garu, to voice his message to us. Over to
Honorable
principal, sir.
Yes. Honorable Chairman of Balaji Group of Institutions, Dr. Rajendra Prasad Reddy Garu, and Secretary, respected G. Rajesh Reddy Garu, and a resource person for this 2 days National Education Policy 2020, Professor Karnam Pushpananandam Garu, convener of this 2 days webinars, Dr. V. Narayana, coordinator Mrs. Pavana Kumari, participants, very good evening to one and all. First of all, it's a very fortunate because today it is a day where even the union government is conducting a day-long program on this national education policy involving President and the Prime Minister of India. So we are very much thankful to Professor Karnam Pushpanandam because this is divided into 2 parts today with vision and action, and remaining part tomorrow. And all of you know that the union government is going to change much in the education system. So unlike earlier one, where normally it is the memorizing and reproducing during examination. So instead of that, it is practical oriented, and to make India, even though having a more powerful people in terms of the knowledge wise, and contributing to the development of many countries. But to make India itself as a global power, necessarily these changes are very much required, and focusing on individual child and also a practical oriented. So I hope it will be very useful for each and every faculty to understand what is the essence of this National Education Policy 2020. So I thank H&S department for organizing this useful webinar, and also I thank the management for giving us permission to conduct this. Thank you. Over to Mrs. Pavan Kumari.
Madam Pawan Kumar ma'am, please unmute your mic.
Now, I request our chairman, Balaji Group of Institutions, Dr. A. Rajendra Prasad Reddy Garu, to address the gathering. Over to chairman, sir.
Respected today's speaker and chief guest, Professor Pushpanadam Garu, and respected principal and other my faculty and the participants, good evening everybody. Especially we are thankful to Professor Pushpanadam Garu for accepting our invitation and giving a wonderful and timely speech, a timely useful material for everybody, whoever educated in India. I hope this is the right time and everyone should know about it, because since almost 35 years we're following the age old education policy, which is practically it's not suitable to the present days. Of course, the government, Modi government rightly reacted, I think. In depth, we are going to hear from sir. So I request all the faculty to make use of this program, and if we are aware of the program, then we can utilize and we can convey it to our students or any other people. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, sir, for your message. Now I request Secretary, Balaji Group of Institutions, Dr. A. Rajeshwar Reddy sir garu, to speak few words. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, hello. Good evening, all the faculty. Good evening, Chairman, sir, Principal, HODs, and all the listeners. I would thank our speaker for his time. This is definitely important juncture in education system of India, as we have lots of hopes and doubts about the new education policy, which I hope few of the discussions would definitely give insights into it. This is very much need of the present hour, as we know that our practical aspects and the theory, there is a lot of gap in between both of them. So I hope the session would be interesting to all of the viewers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your message. It's a privileged honor for me to present a brief profile of today's resource person, Professor Karnam Pushpanadam garu. Professor Karnam Pushpanadam garu is a professor of Educational Management, Department of Educational Administration, the Maharaja Sayajirao University, Baroda. Sir has been teaching, being as a faculty of education and psychology in Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda for the past 25 years in the area of education and educational management, conducting research and community outreach programs, guiding doctoral research scholars, providing consultancy services in total quality management in education, teacher development and educational leadership. Sir is the coordinator of DSA-1 research projects of University Grant Commission, Government of India in the Department of Educational Administration 2020, and also Dean of Students and Sports, Faculty of Education and Psychology of Sayaji University of Baroda. Dr. K. Pushpanandam is a member of resource team of various organizations like NAC, UGC, NCTE, NCRT, NIEPA, etc. Sir gave his services as a member of the Senate of Maharaja Sayaji Rao, University of Baroda in the year 2012, and as a member of Academic Board, School of Education, Tejpur University, Hyderabad, Assam, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. Sir has guided 10 PhD scholars and now he is guiding 6 scholars. Sir has published various papers in national and international journals. Some of his projects are a study on the perception of students on assessment practices in higher education, 2018-20, digital respiratory on research in educational management in all levels, 1920, development of MOOCs on policy making in education and curriculum development in 2019-20, case studies of successful women in educational management, 2017-20, A Study on the Career Aspirations of Women in Higher Education, 1920, Interdisciplinary Research in Educational Management, 2019-20, Academic Management in the University of Northeast Region of India, funded in the year 1718, member of School Management Board of various international schools, Board of Advisor of International Schools, member of Board of Studies in Education, member of Editorial Board of various national and international journals, member of Senate, National Institute of Fashion Technology, Ministry of Textile, Government of India, Research Group of Education for Rural Transformation, Department of Education, Stockholm University, Sweden, Indo-Danish Academic Exchange Program on Education for Global Citizenship with FR Schools of Denmark, and Sir is an active member of ESM of SM Lifelong Learning Hub, University College, Cork, Ireland. He has been granted a fellowship at the Institute of International Education, Stockholm University, Sweden, and Department of Education, Aarhus University, Denmark. Dr. K. Pushpanandam is an academic consultant to British Council on Global Teacher Accreditation Program, India, and Sir is
Professor
at the Assumption University of Wurf University, Thailand. Dr. K. Pushpanandam has directed international training programs with Life Academy, Karlstad, Sweden, sponsored by SIDA on ICT and pedagogic development, and also directed an international training program for the District Education Officer of Afghanistan, funded by Swedish Committee for Afghanistan, SIDA. Sir, we are really privileged and honored to have you with us. Thank you, sir. Thank you for being sir. Now, I request today's chief guest and resource person, Professor Karnam Pushpanandam Garu, to enlighten us on the topic Vision and Action of National Educational Policy 2020. Over to Professor sir.
Good evening, everyone. It's my
Good evening, sir.
pleasure to be here today to share some of the inputs in the National Education Policy 2020. Because the education that we are going to visualize in the coming years to come is well documented and presented, and it is our responsibility as the citizens of this country and also the teachers working in the institutions of higher education. It is our basic responsibility to know what we are striving for, what we are aiming for, what are our institutional, national educational priorities, and then try to understand what are our roles and responsibilities to translate this policy into reality. At the outset, let me thank the Balaji Group of Institutions for inviting me to share some of my ideas about this a wonderful document on education and the nation development. And it is a timely initiative. A timely initiative in the sense when the whole country is going to have a paradigm shift in education. You have shown your interest and willingness to participate in that great mission. Our father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi, rightly said, you must become the part of change that you wish to see. Friends, these words have a very, very strong implications to every one of us. It's not simply that we are visualizing the change, but we are interested to be the part of that change. So this particular webinar, I consider this is a forwarding step in understanding the national policy, and then try to realize and understand and accept and exercise our leadership in education to transform this country to great heights. I appreciate and thank all the management, those who have taken the time to be here in this webinar. That shows their interest and the intention to change the educational systems right at the grassroots levels. Friends, talking about India, a nation which strongly believes in unity in diversity, a large country, second highly populated countries in the world. So we're proud to say that we have different qualities. We have different characteristics. And then we strongly believe that we want to become a world educational leader, as our Honorable Prime Minister always emphasizes. We need to have Atmanirbharata. We need to be self-reliant. We need to have a Swabhiman, self-pride. And he strongly believes the Atmanirbharata and the Swabhiman are only possible with well-positioned education, well-articulated education, right from the early childhood care education to higher education. Friends, let me recall and put before you, when you talk about India as a nation, especially in the education system, as we all aware that we have 1.38 billion population in this country, out of which 1.5 million schools that we have now, which is not a very, very small system. We have 8.7 million primary and secondary school teachers working for educating our children. We have around 260 million children who have enrolled into education system now. So when I'm talking about national education policy, it's going to make an impact of all these huge numbers that I'm talking about. When you try to see the higher education system, we have about 945 universities. We have about 40,000 plus colleges with 37 million students enrolled into higher education system. So this education policy is going to make an impact in all this ecosystem that I'm talking about. So a lot of efforts have been put to understand the ground realities, to understand the issues and challenges, and to make a strategic attempt to overcome those difficulties to make India a self-reliant and a knowledge base in the world. Friends, any policy that we talk about, it cannot be seen from that particular period, because it is something which you call it as a continuous progress that has been happening. After 34 years of from the previous education policy, today in 2020, we have come with this new education policy. So what has gone into previously is also important to understand thereby how these different components which they presented in the current education policy, we will be able to get some kind of meaning out of it. As you all know, friends, we got independence in 1947. And immediately after independence in 1948, there was a higher education commission, which was chaired by Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishna. He was then the Vice Chancellor of Banaras Hindu University. Then a lot of efforts were put to conceptualize what kind of higher education essential for our country after independence. Therefore, we will be able to develop human resources and we'll be able to meet our needs and pave the path for our own development. And then in 1952 and 53, there was a commission, what you call it as Mudaliar Commission. His name was Lakshman Swami Mudaliar, 1952-53, and he was the then Vice Chancellor of Madras University. And he started, along with the team, conceptualized what kind of secondary education that we need to have in this country to step forward, develop economically, socially, industrially. And then subsequently, we have 1964-66, a very popular commission. You call it as a Kothari Commission. The Daulat Singh Kothari, he was the chairman of UGC of the time. And he actually prepared a blueprint for Indian education system. So all these commissions and committees which were appointed after independence have deliberated widely, thoroughly, deeply, and try to understand the kind of education that we are really interested, which can really meet the needs of the people looking into the basic characteristics of our own country. Friends, the first national policy that came into existence in India was in 1968. And then the second national policy came into existence in 1986. And there was a program of action, the modified version of 1986 policy, which also came in 1992. Therefore, all these policies, if you look, they have drastically contributed to reshaping the education system in this country. Whether you talk about the establishment of institutions, whether you talk about regulatory mechanisms, you talk about the curriculum and pedagogical approaches, or you talk about the quality assessment and accreditation models. So today we have reached to the third comprehensive education policy 2020, the first one in the 21st century. So friends, this policy is a document which incorporated all kinds of things that are happening within India and also within the globe. The technological advancements, the globalization, the knowledge-based societies, all the education for sustainable development, Millennium Development Goals, keeping all these things that are happening around the globe, and also deeply understanding about our local pertinent challenges, I consider National Education Policy 2020 is a paradigm shift in education. We all know this journey has actually started somewhere in 2015 when the consultation process of national policy was began. Then in May 2016, under the chairmanship of TSR Subramanian, there was a committee which was constituted by the government, and the committee was for evolution of national education policy. And in June 2017, the government of India constituted a committee, and this committee for drafting national education policy. So friends, I must tell you, preparing a document, a blueprint for educational development of such a vast country is not done at a single point, at a single place. So the first was the consultation process to evolution of national education policy, and then bringing out the draft education policy was a journey that included a lot of deliberations, discussions, acceptance, rejections, and the outcome is actually presented nicely in a 60-page document, which I already forwarded to you. So the 60-page document actually talks about certain very important things. Hello, is it clear? I'm just trying to show the slideshow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Audible, sir.
Okay, is it
It's
clear?
clear, sir. Visible. It's visible, sir.
Okay, is it visible? Screen is visible, please?
Yeah, visible, sir.
Okay, fine. So, this particular document, under the chairmanship of our Padma Vibhushan, Dr. Kasturi Rangan, the document was drafted and was submitted to Ministry of Human Resource Development on 31st May 2019. And the document was passed in the Parliament on 29th July 2020. Friends, in this process of developing a policy, in educational management, we consider the policies or the guiding principles for action. We have institutional based policies that help us to make choice, informed, uniform decision making, a rational decision making, and that directs our decision making process and also help us to put our strategies to strengthen. Similarly, the National Education Policy of 2020, I must impress on you that this document was discussed and that around 2 lakh suggestions were sought cutting across the country. The document draft was on public portal, and citizens of the country from all spheres were asked to reflect and provide suggestions. And then 2.5 lakh Gram Panchayat, it has gone into the villages. 6,600 blocks of 676 districts in this country have actually participated in deliberations and giving advices, suggestions to the ministry to formulate the kind of education that we require for this country. Friends, I thought such historical background is very, very important to present to understand the importance of the present document. If you read the previous documents, every document talks about the importance of education institutions. You know, the Kothari Commission says the destiny of any nation is being shaped in its classrooms. Which means if you want to build the nation, you must build the capacities at the institutional level, school levels, college levels. And another report says, no country can raise above its teachers. So friends, this document is the elaboration of realizing the importance of schools, colleges, and universities. And also what these institutions are supposed to do to make our education a vibrant. So such a document began with a very important vision. So when you are preparing a document, probably it continues for next 20, 25 years, maybe up to 2040 plus. This document needs to guide us what we're supposed to do. So I would like to present to you the vision of this document. So the National Policy Education 2020 envisions an education system rooted in Indian ethos that contributes directly to transforming India. Here we talk about education and nation development. So education has been identified is one of the potential agents to bring transformative change in the country. And it also talks about sustainable into equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all, and thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. Friends, if you read this, the 4 lines of the vision of a national education policy, it actually talks about our beliefs. It conveys the meaning that strongly believe that education quality leads to the national progress and development. And it also believes strongly that we believe in our Bharat, in our value systems, in our constitution, and creating a knowledge society with help of our local wisdom that we have it. And our aspiration is, by doing so, we are basically aiming at to become a global knowledge superpower. So friends, how to translate this vision into a meaningful action? If the vision is not translated and put into actions, all these things that we are dreaming cannot be fulfilled in the time to come. Therefore, policy envisages about the curriculum and pedagogy of our institution. Policy envisages the kind of value systems that we need to highlight in our learners. And the vision also highlights about linking education to life and living. Therefore, it basically talks about a holistic education system that we are actually talking about. So there are 3 C's which the education policy highlights, emphasizes. 1 C is the competency. Our education system must develop competencies in our learners at all levels. And the 2nd C is the character building. Education system with knowledge, the character and the value systems are also utmost importance in our education system now. And the 3rd one is the citizenship. So if you go through the policy, these 3 aspects are well defined, are well projected, and well presented in a strategic manner where institutions can really realize how these things can be met. Let us talk about the competency. The education system focuses about 21st century skills. It says we must go from the theory content based to the skill based education. Therefore, the learner knows and learner will be able to perform. You know, the UNESCO clearly talked about the 4 pillars of learning. I'm sure all of you know. So the 21st century skills embraces learning to know, learning to do, learning to be, and learning to live together. So that kind of education that this national education policy is highlighting about. And the knowledge-based society, what kind of knowledge sources or the knowledge, the navigation is important for our learners. And the global knowledge superpower, what it is, and how we can really become that over a period of time. So the policy clearly states a content-based pedagogical approaches need to be transformed into the skill-based, character-based. So rote memory to the learning by doing the skill development, which is highlighted in the national policy. And the second aspect is the character, Indian core values, the culture and value systems, which are very clearly mentioned in the Constitution. We believe in democratic, secular, socialistic values, self-reliant values. So all these things are very, very important that leads to personal transformation. And the third one is the citizenship, which talked about the patriotism, respect of our own country, national integration, because we have national diversities. And the third important aspect is also the global citizenship. So friends, we are actually taking everything into consideration from local to global, from cultural and value systems of society to personal growth and transformation, and from 21st century skills to becoming global knowledge superpower in the years to come. So these are the basic, what you call the pillars or the basic aspirations with which the whole policy is designed. And if you see the policy, it was presented school education and higher education and other educational related areas. And cutting across all these levels, you find these 3 C's at different varied degrees and varied components. So what are the other guiding principles of the policy? It is also important to understand. See, the guiding principles of this policy talks about access and opportunities. Under education for all, we want every child to get into the school, and not only to get into the school, but he is also learning in the school. So establishment of institutions, providing opportunities, encouraging people, motivating children to come to the schools, encouraging parents to send their children to schools, and establishing schools with a good quality of safety, health, and hygiene. And the second guiding principle is the equity and inclusion. As I told, we have a lot of diversities. We also need to have the fair procedures, transparent procedures for education for all. where every sect in the society are properly included into the main fold of education. Whether you talk about gender disparities that we have, you talk about socio-economic backgrounds, you talk about the caste and the caste, you talk about the special children, the adult learners. Therefore, all segments of education need to be given priority, and education policy has given special emphasis on equity and inclusion. And the third one is the quality and affordability. You know, when you increase the quantity, we have done it in the previous policies and in previous the educational programs. The quality education is also a concern. And the quality education need to come with the affordability of the people. It's not expensive quality education. It is affordable quality education that we must give to our citizens in this country, because they are the pillars for national growth and development. And the another important principle is the autonomy and accountability. Institutions need to be empowered by giving certain kind of the power and authorities, and also make them accountable to what they exercise in educational ecosystem. Therefore, the policy talks about providing opportunities for the institutional autonomy, and also monitors their accountability, which is an integrated model that we talk about. And the last principle is flexibility and interdisciplinarity. When you talk about the curriculum and the pedagogical practices, there's not a rigid system of education that you enter into a particular stream, then you are deprived of studying the other disciplines. Suppose a boy or a girl chooses to be a commerce stream, chooses to be a science stream, the existing system has no scope for him to explore the other disciplines. Whether you talk about the art, culture, music, the psychology, the languages, the social sciences. Therefore, an interdisciplinarity is also a guiding principles for this education policy. Friends, let us see what actually it talks about. The first one is it talks about the holistic education, as I told you. Holistic education is the education that focuses about intellectual, social, emotional, physical, and the spiritual aspects, where there is a mind, body, and the soul, and there is a harmonious interaction. There is a synergy in terms of the thinking, feeling, and doing. And education has to deal with it. We have our great scholars, whether you talk about Mahatma Gandhi, we talk about Aurobindo, Vivekananda, Sarvepalli Radhakrishna, or Rabindranath Tagore. All these people talk about education is not in terms of the content that you provide in the institutions. Mahatma Gandhi has clearly said there is a means to end. The means is the subjects that we talk about, but the end is the character building. An individual who is actually developed with skills, competencies, energies, character, and citizenship. Therefore, the policy highlights the holistic education, where institutions right from early childhood education to university education must integrate their pedagogical approaches for developing intellectual, social, emotional, spiritual, and the physical development of the learners, which is a very integrated holistic model. And this model was actually applied to the curriculum and the pedagogy of education at different levels. Friends, let us see that what changes the national education policy given into school education. You know, since it is a two-day national webinar, I consider I must present something about school education as well. You cannot say that you are not dealing with school education, but as a parent, when your children are going to in schools, you should have an understanding about how this education policy making impact in school education as well. Therefore, friends, I present a little bit about school education, what changes the school education will going to see in near future. And then I will discuss about higher education system as well. So in the school education system, what is proposed in the education policy is a shifting the pattern of education from 10+2 system, which was our previous academic structure, to the present, what you call the 5+3+3+4 system of education. So the very important thing is, usually children from 3 to 6 years, they usually go to schools which are not under the purview of any established national education structures. Usually we send our children to the play centers, but in the new education policy, that stage is also considered to be very important stage, a foundational stage for learning of the child. Therefore, from 3 years to 8 years, total 5 years, which means LKG, UKG to grade 2 is under the 5 years, what you call it as a foundational stage. And grade 3 to grade 5 is the preparatory stage. And then grade 6 to 8 is the middle. And then grade 9 to 12 is secondary. So friends, we have 5+3+3+4 pattern structure of education, which is going to be the reality of this country. So the reason is the first 5 years of the foundational stage is considered to be very, very important, because that is the stage where children learn different languages, different social skills, and you also need to develop liking towards education. So early childhood care education is given utmost importance, and there will be a national policy and the curriculum framework for early childhood care education, which is going to be operational, and the task is given to the National Council for Educational Research and Training. So friends, when you change these structures, probably a question comes to your mind. How does it matters? It is simply shifting or bifurcating the systems into a small categories. Friends, if you see the policy specifically talking about each and every stage and their need and the kind of focus which every institution need to talk about. The policy details, it talks about the curriculum, the teacher education, and the institutional mechanisms, and the assessment systems. So this is a structure which is integrated, interconnected, and interconnected to the holistic education that the policy actually talks about. So the foundation stage will consist of, as I said, the children, and then of their behaviors, courtesy, ethics, personal public hygiene, cleanliness, which are very important for a child to be an individual who can really cope up in this world. And the preparatory is again based on the play-based learning and not very textbook based, but writing, reading, speaking, art, language, science, mathematics, where learning is offered like a learning by enjoying, learning without burden, joyful learning experiences. Therefore, a stress-free education environment need to be created in foundational stage and the preparatory stage, and that will act like a foundation for the middle and the higher schools. One important significant aspect in school education is the middle stage will see the introduction of subject teachers for learning. And it also talks about subjects across science, mathematics, art, social sciences, and humanities. Greater flexibility, interdisciplinary orientation, research components, digitization, and a lot of flexibility on the part of the students to cope up with the kind of changes they are having. Friends, if this is the focus of the patterns, to put these things in a nutshell, what are these curriculum and pedagogy is highlighted in the policy, especially in school education. See, there are 4 multi aspects of education which were actually highlighted in the policy. When I said multidisciplinary, the monodisciplinary orientation need to be given, and then new approach to understanding the knowledge has to be incorporated in the minds of the learners and the teaching learning process. So the multidisciplinary approach connects disciplines and addresses the social and the pertinent issues with a broader understanding and application. And one important thing is vocational education is started from grade 6. And there is no bifurcation in terms of curriculum, co-curriculum, extracurriculum in a separate formats, but all these are integrated in a holistic manner. So the academic and vocational educations become an integral part of the entire education system that we are going to see in the near future. Friends, another important aspect which is coming up is the multilingual. The policy clearly stated that it's always better to educate our children in the local language or mother tongue, and then use a bilingual approach to introduce the other languages. 10 plus 2 plus 3, educate the 3 language formula that we have remains as it is, with a focus on the mother tongue or the local language, and also opportunities to be given for the other languages of the country. We have section 8 of the Constitution that we have 22 official the recognized languages in the country. And somewhere 36 languages are actually requesting to be recognized in this country. There we have a lot of languages that we have. So the policy says, if you want to embrace a student to understand the diversity of the country and to explore the knowledge that we have in different cultures, the students need to be exposed to the different languages. Therefore, the language education is given utmost importance in the school education. The Sanskrit, right from the grade 6, where the Sanskrit can be made simple and can be offered, The other languages like Telugu, like Malayalam, like Tamil, and many other languages we have a rich text, and we want our children to get exposed. And one important thing is the policy also highlighting about the international languages, providing exposure to Spanish, Italian, the German, the French. So the focus is using language as a means to explore the worldwide knowledge. So that actually gives the learner a scope to explore the world and can exercise leadership as a knowledge superpower in the world. And another important aspect is the multimedia approach. The technology. We know during the COVID time, how we actually jumped into the island of hope. I call this digital learning as an island of hope. And we shifted our mode of teaching from classroom face-to-face to virtual screen-based teaching. And we realized that there is a lot of importance and potential in this media. Therefore, integrating technology into teaching learning process is also a focus of national education policy. And it talks about the multiple intelligences. As I said, it is a holistic education where all kinds of intelligences which are required for a child to live happily have to be offered by institutions. So friends, you really feel happy that the document also refers certain areas which are upcoming in the knowledge-based society globally. Is the artificial intelligence. It also talks about the design thinking. It also talks about the coding, data analytics. It also talks about the holistic health and organic living. So what I mean to say is this particular document is something which focuses the evolving areas of knowledge domains, evolving areas of the skill domains, keeping the future in mind, what kind of learners that we need to focus today, thereby they will be able to contribute in the society when after 10 years, after 15 years, when they become a responsible citizens and go to the world of work. Therefore, somebody says, when you talk about education, educational institutions need to design education and offer today by keeping the kind of changes that happen in next decade or more. So that kind of visualization you clearly see into the national education document. Friends, the assessment systems are also, that education is for assessment is a very popular notion that we have in mind now, because parents are concerned about assessment, children are concerned about marks and grades, and we have been experiencing the consequences of these kind of feelings. The suicide rates after the board result examination results, and withdrawal from the education, the fear of failures. So keeping all these things into mind, the policy recommended that assessment for learning is the concept they used, assessment for learning, which means assessment need to be an integral part of the learning process, which is a new way of looking into assessment and examinations at all levels. Therefore, they suggested that assessment should be 360-degree holistic progress card, tracking students' progress for achieving learning outcomes, which are very well-defined learning outcomes that we have, And we also have prepared learning outcome-based curriculum even at the universities. We have come out with learning outcome-based curriculum, which I'll be talking in detail tomorrow. And the another significant is state school examinations at grades 3, 5, and 8. There will be, we have national assessment surveys happening in this country. NCERT conducts, which actually talks about what is the academic scholastic level of our children in this country. So linking to that, there will be state school level examinations at grade 3, grade 5, and grade 8. And the board examinations at grade 10 and grade 12. And the establishment of National Assessment Center for School Education and working closely with the SCRTs, and then come out with the examinations. Friends, they also mentioned the board examinations will be conducted twice, where the opportunities are given to the learners to improve their academic scholastic attainments. So, which actually shows that there is a kind of an encouragement that the policy gives, that there is nothing to worry about assessment and examinations. They are part of your learning process. They really help us to prepare your plan of action to improve your academics. So the another important things, certain organization and administration aspects. We have several schools in rural areas where we have a single teacher schools. We have schools where there are less number of children enrolled. So in order to have equitable distribution of resources, optimum utilization of resources, they are thinking of coming out with school complexes where there is a sharing of resources and then making a school a happening place where children can really experience the learning process. And friends, there will be a state school standards authority with the National School Standards Authority, which regulates the educational processes and to maintain quality of curriculum, quality of teaching methodologies, quality of assessment and examinations, and the quality of institutional ecosystem. So all these things are going to happen phase by phase in the coming years. And the working groups are already in process. And then how these institutional mechanisms can be addressed and these policy imperatives can be made possible into the system of education now. So this is another important aspect of education policy. You cannot bring transformation in the system unless and until you focus on teachers and teacher development. Friends, the policy talks about teacher professional standards, what they call National Professional Standards of Teachers. And they expect every teacher to have that to become a teacher in the institutions. And every teacher is expected to have 50 hours of continuous professional development in a year, and that lead to their professional growth and development. Which means the policy believes that the institution mechanisms need to be created to help the teachers to upgrade their knowledge, skills, including the health, including the habits, and thereby they will be able to do well and discharge their responsibility in the classrooms. So there is a incentivizing the professional practice, and promotion will be merit based, and then providing leadership opportunities for the teachers who are actually doing well in their respective institutional levels. Therefore, friends, what I consider is it is a policy which talks about the underlying principles, which talks about the curriculum, which talks about the structural and the managerial positioning, which talks about the assessment, which talks about the teacher, and which also talks about the political will of the government. Therefore, I could see a bright future in this country where our children, they learn without fear, and they learn what they wish, and the institutions become more vibrant and provide continuous mentoring to our children to become the nation builders, to become excellent in their professional, social, emotional, and intellectual spheres. That is the purpose of education that you are actually talking about. So I think the time is out now. What I structured in that way today, I discuss about the school education. And tomorrow I will be talking about higher education. There are interesting things. There is a overhauling of higher education system that's going to happen in this education policy. So the kind of universities that we have, deemed universities and private universities, etc., all these things will come under the three important umbrellas. And friends, which I'll be talking in detail about Indian higher education system in National Education Policy 2020 tomorrow. And with this, I stop now, and I welcome any questions if you have any specific to National Education Policy, school education. Thank you. Over to the organizers.
Thank you, sir, for enlightenment by giving a brief information about the action plan and vision of National Education Policy 2020. It was a very nice informative session, sir. There are some questions posed by the participants, sir. So the first question is, shall I, sir? Sir, is my voice audible?
Yes, ma'am, it is audible.
Okay, sir. A question from Dr. V. Sudhakar Rao, sir, Associate Professor, Balaji Institute of Technology and Science. There is a wide gap between education in rural areas and that of urban areas. Are there any efforts proposed in the National Education Policy 2020 to reduce this gap?
Yeah, that's fine. We can take few questions. We can take few questions, and I will address all the questions together.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
And the second question is, sir, by Dr. Prasad. How the National Education Policy solve the twin problems? The first problem is rote learning, and the second one, disconnect between education and life.
Yeah.
And the third question, sir, from Manjuri Ilahi, Assistant Professor, BITS Narsampet. Why the National Education Policy 2020 will deprive the poor of education?
What is it? Can you repeat, please?
Why the National Education Policy 2020 will deprive the poor of education?
The poor of education.
Poor of education.
Okay. The poverty issue.
Yes, sir. Maybe.
Okay, right.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, there is also another question posed by Srinivas, Assistant Professor, BITS Narsampet.
Yeah.
Why there is, sorry sir, how to ensure second sir, I'll go back.
Yeah.
1 second, sir. Just a minute, sir. Yes, sir. Whether a teacher is born or created.
Okay.
So, sir is asking the clarity, sir. And there are a couple of questions asked by a student, sir, by name Christian Sen. His questions are: is there any triply regulation scheme of private education institutions, schools, university, colleges? If yes, then how? And another question from same person, sir.
Yeah.
How can multilingual education be practically implemented in schools and colleges?
Okay.
And there is another question, sir, from the same person. Why is there board exam in 10th standard if there is 4 years higher education via 9 to 12 grade?
Okay.
And the last question, sir, from Chandrasekharan, head of the department English, Government College Nagaland, sir,
Yeah.
is asking how to ensure an impartial, corruption-free common entrance test under National Education Policy
Okay.
2020.
Fine. So I'm extremely happy because the kind of questions you have asked shows that you have been attentively listening to me. So all these questions are actually the very genuine questions. Why? Because these are the genuine problems that we have been facing. Friends, if you read the document National Education Policy actually highlighted the issues that you talk about. We have the rural-urban gaps, and then how education can really penetrate and make that education for all is a reality in this country, which was also highlighted. Thereby what happened, the school complexes, attaching schools, and then cooperating the other schools in rural urban areas, mentoring schools. Therefore, the school which is doing well will be able to mentor the schools which are not actually doing well. And therefore, what happened? It is not a competitive model of education, but it is a cooperative, collaborative model of education that's actually coming up. So the rural-urban education, when you talk about, the institutions you mean, but today the establishment of schools in rural areas under the Operation Blackboard scheme and further the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, we have primary schools in almost all places within a distance of 1 kilometer. So establishment schools are there. But now the policy says, because there are schools where less number of students and single teachers, we want to club those institutions and link it to a school complex where a stronger educational learning environment can be created. So friends, there is a strong vision to minimize the rural and urban gap that we have it. And the second one is the rote learning. They focus about the higher order thinking skills. Therefore, you are preparing teachers not to talk about the knowledge level or the understanding level, but the higher order 21st century skills to talk about critical thinking, creative thinking. And those aspects need to be developed with less content and more skill, and that is emphasized. So how it can be done is something that is in our hand, you as a teacher, you as a practitioner. So how we really equip ourselves, and there are the national initiatives in terms of continuous teacher development, which is also a part of that. There will be a change in the curriculum. There will be a focus in the curriculum. There will be a continuous training for the teachers, how to promote such kind of the higher order thinking skills, not the rote learning. Those will be happening soon. Friends, please remember the policy says there is a need to shift, transform from text to context. You know, in most of the educational processes, we are actually confined to the text that is given prescribed. But the policy says we need to move from text to the context, the social context of education, which is talking about more of a skill development and more of the social and inclusive learning environment. And it talks about the lessons that you teach must come from the life and living. You know, therefore they said the examinations, the magnitude will be less. The policy recommended there won't be examinations, will be easy. And the examinations will be of different times. And examinations not measure the rote knowledge, but the examination actually measures the learner's critical, creative, higher order thinking skills. Friends, the proposals are actually very, very nice, but how to make the policy reality is again in our hands. At the national level, the initiatives are already made. And then there will be a systemic continuous development of all the stakeholders who are the part of this education system. And I must tell you, together we can make a difference. It's not the policy makers, but the policy implementers and the beneficiaries of the policy all are important, because we know the value of its implementation in the society. And this multilingual education, I personally feel, which is a very, very important movement, because, you know, a student from South, for example, from Telangana, when you come to Gujarat, probably you are landing in a foreign land because you don't understand the language, though it is an Indian language. Or a person from Madhya Pradesh goes to northeastern states, he feels he's in a foreign land. So that is the diversity that we have. But if you want to embrace the diversity, celebrate the diversity, we must give the opportunity for the child to choose. Please remember, these are the opportunities given to the learners to pursue of his own choice. Earlier, what happened? Even these choices were not actually there in the system. Therefore, the policy says where more of deployment of the language teachers going to happen in school education. And the language teachers from one state to another state, they go because they will be teaching that particular language to the students, and then students will never be deprived about that local wisdom that they have it. So it is basically a holistic view. I understand the difficulties in implementing, but I feel, you know, we must begin with a hope. Let us not begin with any kind of a doubt. So our hopes and our togetherness will help us to create possible solutions to implement effectively, because we believe that the implementation of policy will really transform India. Friends, there are many things you talk about, the public-private partnerships, whether the public-private institutions are able to run in the country. I will address those things when I talk about higher education tomorrow. Okay, over to organizers.
Sir, there is last question, sir.
Yeah.
From Tanush Chandra,
Yeah.
Vice Principal, Bhargavi Degree College, Warangal. Why the child age was reduced from earlier 6 years to 3 years for seeking admission into schools?
Pardon? Can you please say?
Why the child age was reduced from earlier 6 years to 3 years for seeking admission into the school?
You know, these are the practical issues. In a sense, admission. Then you talk about the another issue is the fee regulations, which is actually happening in many of the states now. And then the private participation, and then accountability. There are many host of issues will certainly come into operation. The basic idea is to focus about that 3 years of a child, and what our research talks about it. You have the neuro-linguistic research that happened in the recent past, which talks about how children learn, what are the intellectual processes that happen at that age when you talk about the 3 years to 8 years time. You call it foundational stage. And the importance of reading, writing, importance of basic arithmetics, how they should be taught, and what kind of the impression the system need to give on learners. I think these are the basic the assumptions with which the 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 system is evolved. I understand there are a host of issues which are attached to that. I think in the process of time, we will be able to resolve those through our intellectual capacities. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your patiently answering all the questions posed by our participants. Thank you, sir. Now I request today's program convener, head of the department, Humans and Sciences, Dr. V. Narayana, sir, to speak.
Thank you, ma'am. Really, I'm very happy that today's resource person, Professor Karnam Pushpanathan Garu, are delivering all the questions raised by the participants. As the topic is asked, so many questions, sir, as the time is limited. So due to that constraint, we stopped some of the queries. Definitely tomorrow will our resource person may clear other questions raised by the participants.
We will
and
take
also today you, yes, sir, definitely, sir. Thank you, sir. And today you covered CCC, competency, character, and citizenship, as you covered complete vision of this educational policy with really interesting. I know just little knowledge about this NEP 2020. Today I understood, sir. Thank you, sir, for your nice time. And tomorrow, sir is going to cover few more content related to NEP. With this, I am thankful to resource person, Professor Karnam Pushpanathan Garu, for your valuable speech. Really, I got so many queries and a response from the participants. Almost everyone felt happy, sir. Thank you for your wonderful time with us. And with this, we'll close today's session. Already feedback link posted in the chat box. Soon we'll post the feedback link even in the Telegram group. I request Mrs. Srimati Pawan Kumar Garu, you please conclude this session by giving a vote of thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now I feel privileged of proposing vote of thanks to our chairman, sir, Dr. A. Rajendra Prasad Reddy Garu, Secretary, Dr. G. Rajeshwar Reddy Garu, Principal, Balaji Institute of Technology and Science, Dr. V.S. Hariharan Garu, today's program convener, Head of the Department, Humans and Sciences, Dr. V. Narayan Sir Garu, Advisor, Dr. V. Sudhakar Rao Sir Garu, for their continuous support towards today national level webinar on National Educational Policy 2020. Thank you, sir. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, and see you tomorrow.
From the bottom of heart, sincerely, I thank today's resource person, Professor Karnam Pushpanathan Garu, for accepting our invitation just with a small message and sharing his valuable information about the changes that are taking place in present education system through National Education Policy 2020. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation
Thank you.
and giving your valuable suggestions to us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Over to Narayana, sir.
Okay, sir. With this, we'll close today's session. Tomorrow, I request all the participants to join for tomorrow's session on NEP. Thank you.